First time I walked back there, I couldn't see the ground. 20 years of nobody caring will do that. Waist-high thistle, a maple that seated itself in the middle of what used to be a patio, and somewhere under all of it, a stone wall I couldn't even find at first. The smell was wet leaf and rot, that black smell dead gardens get, the kind that hangs low and follows you back to the truck. The realtor said, level it, bring in a machine, scrape it flat, lay sod, call it a day. Everyone said tear it down, same thing they always say. But I'd seen a corner of dressed stone poking through the weeds by the back fence. Somebody laid that by hand a long time ago, and I don't scrape a hand-laid wall into a dumpster on a Tuesday. So I told the owner, give me the summer. 14 weeks, around 11 grand for the whole yard instead of the 8 it'd cost to bulldoze and sod. And I'll bring you back something you can't buy new. Let me show you how that went. This place was built in 1911. Same fella who built the house built the yard, and back then that wasn't 2 jobs, it was 1. You put the house up and you terraced the slope behind it so the water ran where you wanted it, not into your foundation. A man in 1911 didn't have a French drain company on speed dial. He had his own 2 hands and a lifetime of watching where water goes. So he read the hill and he shaped it and he made it work. I found a photo in the Town Historical Society, black and white, dated 1926. Woman in a long dress, standing on a stone terrace with roses climbing a wooden arbor behind her. Same wall, same slope. That was the yard I was standing in 60-some years before I got there, when somebody still loved it. I kept a copy of that photo in my truck the whole job. Pulled it out when I got stuck. It's a good thing, having a picture of what right looks like. The house changed hands in the 80s. Last owner got old, couldn't do the steps anymore, and the yard just went quiet. Nature doesn't wait for permission. 20 years and it takes everything back. But here's the thing about a stone wall. Weeds can hide it. They can't unbuild it. Somebody built this right the first time. My job is to not be the guy who ruins it. So the first 2 weeks were just clearing. And I'll be straight with you, clearing's the worst part. No glamour in it. Just you, a brush cutter, and a pair of loppers, and a lot of hours. You go home itchy and you smell like a compost pile and you've got nothing pretty to show for it yet. I don't go in with a machine on a job like this. A machine can't tell the difference between a weed and a thing worth keeping. You bring a bobcat back there, it'll snap the top course off that wall and you won't even feel it. So I went in by hand, slow, cutting down, raking off, seeing what the ground gave me as I went. I work in grids too. I string off a section maybe 10 feet square, clear it right down to bare dirt, and I don't move to the next one till I know exactly what's in the one I'm standing in. You rush it, you miss things. And in a yard like this, the things you miss are the things you came for. And the ground gave me plenty. First thing, the maple in the middle of the patio was 30 feet tall and its roots had lifted the old flagstone into a mess of humps and cracks. That tree had to come down. Cost me 2 days and a rented stump grinder, about $400 in equipment. That one hurt a little because it was a healthy tree, but it was the wrong tree in the wrong place, and it was breaking the very stone I'd come to save. You can't keep everything. Part of the job is knowing what has to go so the rest can stay. Under the thistle along the north side, I found the arbor. Or what was left of it. The posts had rotted off at grade and the whole thing had folded over into the weeds like it just laid down to rest. Cedar though, original cedar, the tops of the posts, the parts up out of the wet, were still sound after 100 years. Cedar does that. It gives you the bottom to the rot and keeps the rest. I pushed a thumbnail into it up high and it barely dented. Hard as a bat, that told me right there I had something to work with. Then I got to the wall, cleared the face of it, and I just stood there a minute. Dry laid field stone, about 40 feet long, 3 courses high, holding back the whole upper terrace. And here's what got me. It was dry laid, no mortar. Not one bit. Just stone set on stone, each one picked so its weight locked the next one down. 113 years and it hadn't bulged, hadn't slumped, hadn't spilled its guts down the hill. You know how many mortared walls I've torn out that failed in 20? The mortar cracks, water gets in, freezes, and it's done. This fella trusted gravity instead. Gravity doesn't crack in a Vermont winter, and when you look close at a good dry wall, you see the thinking in it. He set his biggest stones on the bottom the way you'd expect, but he also ran long stones back into the hill every few feet, tie stones we call them, so the wall grips the bank instead of just leaning on it. That's the difference between a wall and a pile. Any fool can stack rock. It takes a builder to make it hold a hillside for a century. She had good bones. The yard, under all that mess, the whole structure of the place was still there. The wall, the terraces, the shape of it. I wasn't building a yard, I was uncovering one. Now the wall wasn't perfect. Down at the low end, near where the maple had been, about 6 feet of it had come apart. Roots had wedged in and pushed the stones out of their beds, and the whole section had slumped forward, maybe 4 inches. Not fallen, just tired. So I took it apart. Sounds backwards, I know. But you can't fix a dry wall from the outside. You take down the bad section stone by stone, and you lay each one on the grass in the order it came off so you can read it back like a book. I number the big ones with chalk even, so I'm not standing there at the end scratching my head over which rock went where. Then you rebuild the base. The problem was never the stone, it was the footing under it, washed out over the years. Here's the part I got wrong. First day, I rebuilt that 6 feet, and I was proud of it. Looked dead straight. Went home, came back the next morning, and the top course had shifted a ½ inch overnight. That one's on me. I'd set the stones with the flat face out because it looked cleaner, and in a dry wall, looking clean is exactly wrong. Each stone's got to tilt back into the hill a hair, maybe 5 degrees, so the whole wall leans into what it's holding. We call that batter. The old man knew it. I forgot it for a day, took it apart again, set every stone with that backward tilt, chinked the gaps behind with small stones so nothing could travel, and it hasn't moved since. The wall taught me that's usually how it goes. For the base, I dug down about a foot below the frost heave line and put in 6 inches of crushed stone, packed tight. That's the drainage. Water's the enemy of every wall ever built, so you give it somewhere to go before it ever gets a chance to freeze and lift things. When water freezes, it swells, and if it's sitting in the dirt behind your wall, it'll push those stones out an inch a winter till the whole thing lets go. Crushed stone doesn't hold water, it drains. The original builder did the same thing with a rougher stone. I just did it with a plate compactor instead of a strong back and a prayer. Cost me about $300 in crushed stone for the whole run, worth every dollar. The rest of the wall I left almost alone, reset maybe a dozen loose caps, brushed out the joints and stepped back. You don't over-restore a thing like this. The little irregularities, the stones that don't match, that's the hand of the man who built it. Sand that off and you've got a wall from a catalog. I'd rather have his crooked line than my straight one. His line's got 100 years of proof behind it. Now, a yard doesn't have pipes and wiring like a house, but it's got the same idea underneath. The stuff nobody sees that decides whether the whole thing lives or dies. In a yard, that's water. Where it comes from, where it goes. And I found that the reason this yard had stayed half swamp for 20 years, the original builder had cut a swale, a shallow drainage channel, along the base of the upper terrace to carry rainwater around the patio and out to the street side. Over the years, it had silted in completely, filled level, so every storm, water sheeted straight down onto the flagstone and pooled, and that standing water is what fed all that rot and moss and killed the patio. It wasn't the yard failing. It was one channel clogging and everything downstream of it drowning slow. So I dug the swale back out by hand, followed the exact line the old man had cut. You could still read it in the lay of the ground once you knew to look. There was a shallow dip in the grade that never quite healed, and that dip was his channel, still whispering the answer 100 years later. 2 days of shovel work, lined the bottom with more crushed stone, and set a perforated pipe in the low run to speed it along to daylight at the fence line. I gave it maybe an inch of fall every 8 feet. Gentle, just enough to keep the water moving without cutting the channel apart. About $200 in pipe and gravel. Now, the water goes where he wanted it to go. 100 years ago, I just reminded the ground. The season was pushing on me by then. Vermont doesn't give you a long window. Once the ground freezes, stonework stops, planting stops, everything stops till spring. I was into September, and I could feel the mornings getting sharp. Frost was maybe 6 weeks out. So I set the drainage, got the wall solid, and moved fast on the arbor before the cold came, because a wet post going into winter is a rotted post by April. You fight the calendar up here more than you fight the work. The arbor was the piece I most wanted to save, and the piece I could save the least of. Those 100-year-old cedar posts, the sound upper sections, I couldn't just stick them back in the ground. The bottoms were gone, so I did what the old-timers would grumble at and what I'd do again in a heartbeat. I set new pressure-treated posts in concrete, dug those footings down below the frost line too, 3 feet, so the winter can't heave them up crooked. cut them off at knee height, and scarf joined the old cedar tops onto the new bottoms with hidden steel plates and structural screws. A scarf joint's just a long angled cut where two pieces overlap so the load passes through the wood instead of hanging on the fasteners. New legs. Old body, the part you see and touch when you walk under it, is the same cedar that woman stood in front of in 1926. Then acid wash the old wood gentle to take the gray off, and it came up honey-colored underneath. That deep, warm cedar you can't fake. That gray you see on old wood, that's just the surface. Sun-beaten, a 1/16 of an inch deep. Underneath, the good cedar is still in there waiting. Rebuilt the missing cross pieces to match the two originals that survived. Same profile, same spacing. I traced the old ones onto a board so the curve came out identical. New cedar next to old, and in a year of weather, they'll be the same color, and you won't be able to tell my hand from his. That's the goal. Not to sign my name on it, to disappear. For the patio itself, I lifted every flagstone the maple had heaved, 40-some pieces. Big Vermont bluestone. Cleaned the beds underneath, re-leveled with sand and stone dust, and set them all back down. That stone dust is the trick. It packs harder than sand, and it doesn't wash out from under the stones every time it rains. I ran a straight edge and a level across the whole floor as I went, tapping each piece down with a rubber mallet till it sat flat and quiet, no rock to it when you step across. Original stone. I bought maybe 8 new pieces to replace ones that had cracked clean through. And I laid the new ones at the edges where the eye doesn't land first. About $600 in new stone and sand for the whole floor. And then the planting, this is where a yard comes back to life, literally. I found the old rose at the base of the arbor, half dead, one live cane on it. Didn't dig it out, pruned it hard, cut it back to that one good cane, and a couple of buds, fed the soil, gave it a wire to climb. A 100-year-old rose that survived 20 years of neglect doesn't need me to replace it. It needs me to get out of its way. Put in some lavender and creeping thyme in the wall joints the way they did it back then. Tuck the roots right into the pockets between the stones with a little soil. So in July, the whole wall hums with bees. Plants in a wall aren't just pretty either. Their roots knit into the joints and hold things a little tighter. The old-timers knew that. Nothing they did was only for looks. Let me walk you through it the way it stands now. You come down the 3 stone steps off the back porch. And the first thing is you can actually see the yard. That's the whole trick right there. For 20 years, you couldn't. Now, the terrace opens up in front of you 2 levels, held by that 113-year-old wall running clean along the far side. The patio's the bluestone, re-leveled and flat, the maple stump long gone and grass grown over the scar. You stand on stone that a man cut and set in 1911, and it's dead level under your feet, and the water runs off it and down the swale like it was told to. You'd never know it was ever a swamp. That's the best compliment a yard like this can get, that it looks like nothing ever happened to it. Off to the left, the arbor. Old cedar tops, new legs, the survived rose already throwing a cane up the near post. In 2 summers, it'll roof that thing in flowers, same as the photo. And along the north wall, the lavender's in and the thyme's tucked in the joints, and the whole run of it faces the afternoon sun. Come July, it'll be loud with bees, and you'll smell it before you see it. 14 weeks, near enough. About $11,000 all in. Stone and pipe and cedar and plants, and the machine rentals, the bulldoze and sod would have run around 8. So I spent $3,000 more, and 40 feet of 100-year-old hand-laid wall are still standing instead of buried in a landfill. I'll take that trade every time. You can lay new sod in an afternoon. You can't lay 113 years back down once it's gone. I didn't build this yard. A man I never met built it in 1911, and he built it right. The wall told me that the first morning I cleared its face, and it corrected me the day I set the stones wrong. And it's still here because, he understood order and gravity better than most men understand anything. He never signed it, didn't need to. The work's the signature. All I did was listen and clear away 20 years of what didn't belong and put my hand where his hand was. As somebody built this right the first time. My job is to not be the guy who ruins it. Some days I manage. Next one's a whole different animal. There's a house up the valley, a 1780s cape, and the last owner sealed the original cooking hearth behind a wall of drywall sometime in the 70s. Brick-laid firebox, big enough to stand in, and nobody's seen it in 50 years. I'm going in with a pry bar and a lot of nerve. Come watch me open that up.